Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, June the 10th, 2024. This is going to be an active week because there's a number of important planetary events. But let's start with Monday the 10th. The moon is in outgoing extroverted Leo. So we're starting the work week for most of you with the moon in Leo, more optimistic, more motivated, more assertive, because it's a fire sign. And by early evening, the moon will be in harmony with communication Mercury. So that would be in the early evening Pacific time. Maybe if you're in Europe, you're sound asleep. Maybe not. But that moon Mercury is good for talking about your feelings, having a heartfelt conversation. Now, on Tuesday, the 11th, the moon continues in extroverted Leo, but goes void of course, 12:17 p.m. until 10:39 p.m. at Pacific time, at which point the moon goes into Virgo. When the moon is void of course, that I discuss usually every week, it's changing signs. Here it's going from Leo, fiery Leo, to sensible, practical Virgo. But when it's changing signs, but no longer aspecting any other planets, so there's no energy, no activity going on, planetary activity, that period is called the moon void of course. You don't want to start any important new projects. It's good for staying the course, keeping with the routine, good for introspection, reflection, resting, but it's advised not to start a new job, a new project, any important new event, because when the moon is void of course, the energy is flat and unproductive. It could just take you so much more effort, and it may not even be worth it to get the results you're seeking. And restless, impatient, ambitious Mars, the warrior planet in mythology, will be squaring this hard 90-degree angle, this push to Pluto. That could trigger some really intense power struggles. But it's just energy. And how you can direct it more positively. Pluto wants to break down and transform. Mars is really ideal for repairs. So if you're involved with construction to making home repairs, that Mars-Pluto will give you a lot of drive and motivation to make all these changes outside of you with a project. Inside of you, emotionally, you could be really stressed out. So you want to get the energy out of your body, and if you don't have some big project, and that could be cleaning the house, painting the walls, doing landscaping. If you don't have any of those goals, go exercise. Go walk around the block a few times. Gets the energy out of your body, especially when the moon is void of course. Remember, from 12:17 p.m. to 10:39 p.m. Pacific time, because the Mars-Pluto is really ambitious and driven. But if you try to get anything new started and the moon's void of course, it's just going to fall flat. But it can be great for finishing up old projects. Now, Wednesday, the moon for those next couple of days is in sensible, practical, analytical Virgo. And the moon will be squaring or a hard angle to expansive lucky Jupiter around 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific time. Now, that moon Jupiter, it's early in the morning on the Pacific coast, because that could be favorable for traveling. A lot of people like taking off to the airport early in the morning if you're on the Pacific coast. But you got to be careful because the moon are these emotional needs that's being with overinflated expectations with Jupiter. And after that happens, for the rest of the day, Mercury, which can have a lot to do with your expectations, will be in a hard angle to contracting, limiting Saturn. Mercury-Saturn could be where you have to let go of something. You could be frustrated at a project, and might even be if you were having overinflated expectations with the moon Jupiter, then the Mercury-Saturn comes along and you have to cut back. Mercury-Saturn, though, can be very positive for Mercury, the mind, learning, studying, with Saturn to be very focused and concentrate the mind. Thursday, the 13th, the moon in analytical, work-oriented Virgo will be in opposition, that's interacting with others, restricted, responsible Saturn. Now that'll be early afternoon Pacific time. That moon Saturn could be a time when emotionally you're feeling blocked, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling disappointed. When you're trying to resolve any emotional or family issues, that's the moon. You could be feeling like you're just spinning your wheels or hitting a brick wall with the Saturn. It only lasts an hour or two. You don't want to be having any important business meetings or trying to resolve any personal issues with a heartfelt conversation, because the moon Saturn, you just might be feeling cold. Or what the response you get back could be cold. On Friday, the moon continuing in analytical, work-oriented Virgo, but at 11:12 p.m. or a.m., 11:12 a.m. Pacific time, the moon goes into Libra. Libra, that tone of the public tone, good for socializing for the weekend. Libra wants a relationship, wants to hang out. Libra can be very cooperative, seeking peace and harmony. Now, during the day, negotiating Mercury will be aligned with the sun. That could be very favorable for a lot of meetings and brainstorming and trying to promote your ideas. And with the moon in Libra, after 11:12 a.m., then there's more harmony, there's more cooperation. And mid-afternoon Pacific time, the moon in Libra will be in harmony with Pluto, intense, deep Pluto. So that could be very favorable for studying, going deep within and concentrating, which goes great with the Mercury with the sun. But the Mercury and the sun, it might be more open to expressing your feelings and your ideas. The moon to the Pluto, anything that you've been holding back and keeping private, you could be, expressing it more and bringing it more out to the surface. Moon Pluto in this favorable aspect, mid-afternoon, could be very favorable for an astrology reading, for a counseling session, or just being really open to a heartfelt discussion about your personal life. Saturday the 15th, there are no planetary events other than the moon continues in Libra, the sign of cooperation, seeking peace and harmony, and it's a Saturday, and Libra is very sociable. So it's a good weekend to get out there and socialize, get out of the house. Sunday, the 16th, the moon continues in charming, cooperative Libra. But mid-afternoon, it's going to be in trine to the sun, which is the best flow of energy. So when the personal emotional moon is in harmony with the sun, it's as if whatever the influences are, it's more easy, things flow more, there's more cooperation with that moon in Libra. However, Venus, creative and loving and relational Venus, will also be in a square, a difficult angle to Neptune. Now, Venus-Neptune, there could be misunderstandings, disappointments, assumptions in your love life. However, with the moon in Libra, excellent with the sun, there's more of an opportunity to want to talk about it. And then the Venus-Neptune, you want to talk about your insecurities with your love life. But the moon-sun can bring some harmony and balance. And Venus-Neptune on a more positive is creative. And when Neptune is the imagination and the inspiration. So creatively, it's a really inspiring day. Or you could attend an art gallery, an entertainment event, a great movie, and just be swept away with the magic of the art exhibit, of the movie, etc. And that moon to the sun, everything just seems to be in flow. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.